Hi, this is Bobby Ryan of the Detroit Red Wings, and you are listening to Empty Betters with Nick, Mac, and Harrison.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to episode 72 of Empty Betters. I'm your host, Harrison Schulz, and I'm going to toss it across the screen to my co-host, the tan man himself, Nick Manella. How we doing, buddy? You got an awful lot of color there.
Yeah, man, it's been good. It's been nice to be able to get outside every now and then and not be completely stuck to my desk like a miserable drone every day. I mean, Monday through Friday, just going through the grind. So other than that, can't complain. Not the best weekend in my world, but you know what? Another day, another dollar. We move forward.
Do you want to tell the story or would you rather not?
No, I'll tell it. For those of you that don't know, for the last 7 months, I've been in the process of restoring a classic car, and it's not in the same state that I'm currently in. So I'm doing a lot of this over the phone, and can be very stressful at times, especially when, money gets involved. And, as anyone who's a car guy will tell you, it's when it rains, it pours. When you find one problem, that leads to 3, which leads to 5, which leads to 10. So, the first time the guy comes to you and says, "Oh, your car's ready," it's no, it's not. That was about 3 months ago. So, I was all set and good. I was going to drive it back from New York to Maryland. And then the right rear muffler on the car decided it didn't want to come with me. So, a little bit of rust there, a little bit of, I don't know if it caught something on the ground, but yeah, we were about 20 minutes into the drive when the muffler came off, and part of it came off. The other part was still attached to the car. So pulled off into a abandoned Toys R Us parking lot in Brooklyn for 2.5 hours, and then, managed to still get home. But the car is not currently with me. It is back at the shop. So that is the life I'm currently living.
Yeah, when you told us that, I felt pretty bad for you. I know you've been working on this for a bit. I will say I got a tiny laugh at it. I know you don't want to hear that.
It's funny now. I mean, when when it happened, I was full 3 sheets to the wind, just George Costanza rage. It was, it was not pleasant.
Hey man, it happens. It's part of it. Hey, so this week we're going to win all that money back that you have to pay to transfer the car.
Exactly.
So it's all good. We're off to a hot start already. And I'm going to toss it off to my other co-host who is in the midst of his cross-country road trip, and he is in Denver, Colorado, I believe right now. Mac, how we doing?
Yes, sir. How's it going? I am in Denver. That's why I don't have my normal, if you're watching on YouTube by any chance, I don't know if anyone watches on YouTube, but that's why you notice I don't have my sweet hockey background here. But yeah, it's been good. Today was a little sketchy, just driving in snowy mountains, 2-lane cliff. You kind of feel like you're on DK Summit for all you Mario Kart fans out there.
So you've honed your skills at this for years, right?
Oh yeah, exactly. I was like, oh, get me in the zone here. But no, I think I'm through the most challenging part of the trip at this point. The next couple of days, I'm gonna go to from Denver to Nebraska, and then from Nebraska to Iowa, and then from Iowa to Milwaukee. So it's a couple short days left, and it should be pretty flat and pretty fucking boring scenically as far as that goes. So
how was Vegas? I have to ask.
Vegas was crazy. I did not know I was staying at a top hotel. I've done this trip once before when I moved out to LA, and same thing. My dad booked all the hotels for me just so I didn't have to worry about it. Thankfully, shout out Dad for that. And, but he mostly sets me up in modest little, it's like a DoubleTree or a La Quinta Inn or whatever the fuck. It's it's nothing special.
It's a room, a bed, a fridge.
I literally just need to sleep there for the
night.
So I wasn't, and it's usually also in the middle of fucking nowhere too. And so I'm pulling into Vegas and my GPS says I'm 2 minutes away and I'm in Vegas. And I was like, oh, where are we? And next thing I know, it said it was a DoubleTree too in my notes that my dad left me. And I was like, cool. Yeah, I've stayed at DoubleTrees. They're pretty chill. You get those hot cookies. They make you hot cookies. But I pull up in big letters. It's the Tropicana by DoubleTree. And I was like, oh, no way. And I go in there and it's just I mean, you guys saw it a little bit on the story, but yeah, it's just like a gambler's haven. Full casino, lots of bars, super expensive though. I was glad I was only there for one night.
I was going to say it's a town that the three of us should not spend more than 48 hours in.
Oh God, no. Yeah, and
Or-
when I was
or
checking
Spend a
out,
lifetime there.
Right.
when I was checking out the next morning, there was a couple in front of me that were like, we'd like to stay another night. And I was like, this is trouble. Don't do
Oh.
it. Don't do it.
And you start to think, you're like, could I possibly
I know, you're like,
do
wow,
that
that'd
as
be
well?
nice to just be like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's just do
Right.
another night. Like,
Any wagers?
I'm so intimidated by like the actual gambling floor. Like I'm still, keep in mind, I'm only 22. So like I haven't had
Yeah.
a chance to like really go to a casino and like ball out yet. So I don't
Yeah.
know. I played a couple slot machines, but I don't really know what I'm doing. Like I wish I had the balls to walk over to like the craps table and be like, how the hell does this work? But like,
Well, that's the thing I liked when like I went to Vegas and I was in the same boat. Like I think I was 21 when I went, and if you talk to like the dealers, like they want you to play. So they'll like help you
Right.
out. Like I sat and I chatted. I was literally the only person playing blackjack at this table and just talked to the dealer. She was super nice for like probably an hour and a half. And I think the problem is with like, I was at the Bellagio, you were at the Tropicana, like a lot of those tables, like the buy-in is like 20, 25 bucks a hand.
yeah, it was pretty high ball stuff too.
Yeah.
Like that's why I didn't feel comfortable just like jumping in and being like, hey, you're here to not fuck
Yeah.
me over, right?
And sometimes you get that asshole who's at the blackjack table who's like they want like a good partner, because like what you're doing also does affect
Right.
the people next to you, and then of course they're going to be like an ass when you hit on something that they wanted, or
Right,
vice
right.
versa. So I always liked going to old Vegas, where I went to this one casino called Ellis Island. They had like a great Elvis impersonator. It was hysterical, but like their buy-in on the table was like $5-10 a hand, and that was
Sure.
perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hopefully one day I'll learn, but maybe not in Vegas. Maybe I'll hit the old Potawatomi in Wisconsin this summer.
Potawatomi. Wow.
Yeah.
There's something. All right. Well, that's kind of catching up over our lives over the weekend.
How was your second vacation?
Oh, well, yeah. I was in St. Petersburg, Florida, celebrating a nice little anniversary with the lady. It was a very pleasant trip, very warm. We did a kayak tour on the, I'm gonna fuck this up, Wacky Wokey River. I don't know. So it's 2 W's back to back,
Great
and
name.
I can't remember. It was cool. Water was crystal clear. You could like see everything. There was like fish jumping out of the water. You got to swim in it. It was a lot of fun. The weather down there, just anytime you get palm trees, it's perfect. I miss it already. We got back to BWI and I walked out of the plane and I was just like, God damn it. Like,
Like, this place sucks.
yeah, really. So yeah, it was a good trip. Pretty relaxing. Kept the bartender busy. So
I was going to say, we did get one snap one night that was quite entertaining. So, and that's all I'm going to say,
Good
but
stuff.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
good stuff.
You know, like the frozen drinks and shit at like beaches, like at Secrets or something.
Yep.
It's
Those will
just
get you.
deleting them. So
The problem with that is they go down easy and then they sneak up behind you and just smack you in the face with a
yeah.
baseball bat. I mean,
And then the next day you're like,
Oh, it's the worst.
God. Yeah.
you want to hear
Yeah.
something gross, or is it like not allowed?
Oh no, fire away.
So
Oh,
there's this
God.
one drink called the Hula Hula, and it was like fucking, I don't know, neon green. I took a shit the next morning. It looked like the
No.
green men from the Canucks came out of my ass.
no.
It was horrible.
God.
It was so bad. It was
Okay.
so bad. I was like, all right, that's gotta
That's
stop.
a one and done for me, but
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
So there's that one. I mean, hey, I asked. So
no, there you go. I mean,
All right.
that's incredible.
Let's get to the news.
Right. Yeah.
Yes, but before we do, we just want to let you know that this episode is brought to you by Brackish Life. Let's take a minute to talk about Brackish Life. If you're like us and grew up on the water and outdoors, then Brackish Life is perfect for you. They have a wide selection of gear from UV shirts to hoodies and hats. It's Real Bay apparel made by Real Bay people. Head to www.brackish.life today to check them out. A little salty, a little fresh. Brackish Life. Brackish Life has also teamed up with Rink to Reef Chesapeake Bay to preserve the area many of us call home. Rink to Reef repurposes broken hockey sticks into oyster restoration habitats. Brackish Life donates a portion of their proceeds to Rink to Reef to further preserve the beautiful Chesapeake Bay area. Support this great cause by checking out www.brackish.life today. I did wear that hat the entire trip down there. Bartender asked me what it is, pulled up the phone, showed her the Instagram, gave her the website. It's all good. I think she might have bought something. We'll see.
Hell yeah. Kyle's going to love that.
She could buy a couple hats with the amount of tips that we gave her. So
Your bar tab alone.
yeah, really. All right, let's get into the news. I'm going to toss it off to Nick to drive the bus.
So we've got a lot to cover today, like I say every episode, but there's like a ton of just like random stuff to cover today. A bunch of stuff from the minor leagues that we'll get to, a couple big injuries that I want to highlight, but I feel like we have to start with what was probably the most significant moment of this season so far. And honestly, I think you can say maybe one of the records that will never be touched across all sports when you think about it. But Patrick Marleau passed Gordie Howe for the most games played in NHL history last night when the Sharks faced off against the Golden Knights. Fun fact, Patrick Marleau made his debut on October 1st, 1997, when I was 3 years old, Harrison was 1 year old, and Mac was not even born yet.
That's crazy.
If you want to think about how long that guy's been playing, like I'm 26, Harrison's 24, and Mac's 22, just, factor that in. What a class act.
You want to know who else wasn't born yet when he debuted?
Who?
18% of the players that have played in the NHL this season.
That's nuts.
Yeah, that's insane. Did you guys see the custom gloves that he got?
Those were really
so
cool.
Sick.
Yeah.
So
he wore those during the game, right?
I think during practice. I know he did during
it wasn't
practice.
during the game. I watched
I
watched like the first 10 minutes of the game and then I fell asleep. But I mean, you feel like this just couldn't have happened to like a more deserving and like better guy. I mean, he just seems like the nicest person in the world.
Yeah, he did his NHL Network thing with Jackie Redmond, and he could tell he's just super humbled. His post-game interview, he was basically in tears. Sucked in Pittsburgh, but I won't hold that against him. Good record.
The best
one thing that I'm sorry, you go.
The best tweet was the Hurricanes Twitter account when Patrick
it was hilarious.
Canes legend. It was so funny.
Yeah, that was great. What was I gonna say? Oh God, why is it escaping me? Don't let us. Oh, Butchie. He was talking about it. Marlowe's going through 2 lockouts.
Yep.
And a pandemic. So imagine how many games he's lost as a result of that.
And right, how many expansions has he gone through?
I think 3.
I think you're right.
I think in 97 there was how many teams in the league? 26 or something like that. 7, yeah, somewhere around there. Yeah.
So yeah, it's a great record to have. It's, I would say, right after most points or most Stanley Cups, that's definitely got to be up there. So good for him. I don't know if he'll retire after the season. I think maybe he's alluded to it, but Jumbo Joe keeps going. He could catch him because Jumbo Joe's like number 5. So
that's what I was going to ask you guys is when I saw this and you start to read about it a little bit more, I'm just thinking that no one is going to, maybe Jumbo is the only person who has a shot, but is anyone else going to be able to touch this? Cause I feel like guys just don't play for this long anymore. And now you start to see these guys who come in at like 18 and then retire at like 34. So,
Right.
Yeah. I don't know. I also have no idea where Chara is. I'm a little surprised he's not higher up.
He's up there, but he's like, I think he's about to have his like 1600th game or his 1700th game or somewhere around there. Yeah. So it's way up there, but it's not high enough where like I don't think he could ever break it. Cause God love him, but he doesn't look like he can play like for like 3 more years, Yeah.
I think the most mind-blowing stat out of all of this that I've read is that Marleau has missed 32 NHL games in 23 NHL seasons.
Yeah.
Which is just absurd when you think about it. Like you think about all the other players who have been around for that long and all the time they've missed, and the fact that he's been able to be that consistent and that relevant for that long. Like, he's, I know he's older now and he's not as big of a factor as he used to be, but he was always up there as probably the Sharks' best player for a really long time.
For sure.
Yeah. One guy, you're going to like this answer. One guy that I would give a small chance of hope other than Joe Thornton to perhaps pass this. Depends how long he plays. I don't even know what his games played is at right now, but just given how long he's been at it and the lack of injury history, Ovi.
Yeah, I don't think he'll get to 1,700. I don't even know if he'll get to like 16 or 1,500. I know he's over 1,000 at this point. It's
I'd love to know how many games he's missed in his career. It can't be more than like 40 or something like that.
He has missed. I
Yeah.
want to say I know that it's like 20 something, but I wish I could give you the exact number, but it's not a lot of
crazy.
games at all. He's so durable, man.
That's what I'm saying. Like if he
And some of those games are, I think he was like suspended for like one or two as well. Well, because of the All-Star thing. Remember, he would always skip the All-Star game and get suspended every year. So
I remember he got suspended.
So
for
even less games that he was injured.
Yeah, he got suspended for like a couple questionable hits early on in his career too. So, and then there was a couple times early on in his career that he was banged up too. So he definitely missed, a
but
small
never more
amount,
than like a
yeah.
game or two or like maybe 3 in a row, and then like right back at it.
Yeah, I mean, where do you think
his games played is at 1,194 right now?
Okay,
so I mean, he's got a long way to go.
Yeah.
Let's see if he ditches for Russia. Who knows?
Yeah. I also think it's nuts that like when Marleau came into the league, he was like the second youngest player to play in the league. And the youngest was like going back to the 1940s. So he was basically the youngest person to play in the NHL.
Mm-hmm.
It was like 18 years and I don't know however many months. I think the guy that did it in like the 1940s was like 17. So I know that still counts, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not
right.
It doesn't really count, but yeah.
Yes.
So huge congrats to him. And like we've said already, couldn't happen to a nicer guy. Speaking of nice guys, Braden Holtby was incredible as the Vancouver Canucks come out of their sort of COVID purgatory disaster and knock off the Maple Leafs in an epic comeback after being on pause for 24 days. If you're a Leafs fan, that just has to drive you up the wall. That's got to be one of the most infuriating losses of the season. And if you're a Canucks fan, you got to be like,
classic Leafs loss.
It really is. And if you're a Canucks fan, you're like, all right, we still have a chance here. I mean, did you guys watch that game? Sweet
cartwheel save. And also like Holtby needed that so badly. Like he needed a big moment like that. And he needed a win more than anything. I feel like it's been forever since that guy's gotten in the win column. So it was good to see him get one.
Fun fact. The Canucks were the third biggest underdogs that game, moneyline wise, of the season. They were at plus 312 right before the game started. Their live bet down 2-0 had to be somewhere in the 600 to 700 range, I would imagine. So if you did that, congratulations. If you're a psychopath as well, but
somebody out there did it.
Someone did it.
Yeah, great win for them. Good game winner by Bo Horvat. That Holtby save, I know we reposted on the Instagram, just a good old-fashioned cartwheel. Gotta love it.
Stack the pads. By the way, if you're any of the people on social media that were saying, oh, this was better than the save in Vegas in the Cup final, I don't know what you're smoking, but you should probably get off of it like now.
Nah.
Who said that?
I saw so many tweets that they were like the save 2.0 or like this makes the Vegas save look like obsolete. I was like, oh my God, you are so wrong.
It's a little bit of a stretch.
So dumb, but oh well. Moving on.
Wait, time out.
What?
I just checked the scores. Penguins are up 3-0 in the first 10 minutes of the game against Jersey. I put that Mike Matheson prop in. He scored the first goal of the game.
Nice.
I can't fucking lose.
Jersey is
when he's hot, he's
reeling right now, and I will get to that later in the episode. But
they're so bad.
They're bleeding right now. The Memorial Cup has been canceled for the second straight year, and it's only the second time that it's been canceled in its history. The 2021 rendition of the tournament has been canceled due to obviously the COVID pandemic. Obviously, there's a huge mess going on with the three leagues under the CHL right now. 2 of them are playing, 1 of them is not. We'll get to that in a little bit, but it just sucks to see because it's always one of the best tournaments, especially if you're, if you're playing in it, obviously like when we had Zach come on and he talked about his experiences there and, a lot of those guys made their name in that tournament. Zach was one of the guys who was fortunate enough to be able to win it. And it's definitely one of the hardest trophies to win because as we've mentioned on this show, it's not only that you have to win your league, then you have to go and beat the champions from the other two leagues. So you really are the best of the best in junior hockey when you do win that. So it just sucks for all these kids who are trying to get their name out there and trying to get drafted right now. And I think we've started to see how this pandemic is starting to affect scouting and has started to affect the draft going forward into this next season.
Yep.
Dallas Stars forward Tyler Seguin could make his season debut in a couple weeks. Stars GM Jim Nill said Seguin is set to begin skating with the taxi squad, which goalie Ben Bishop has already been doing. Bishop hasn't played this season after an off-season knee injury. So Seguin potentially could be coming back from the Stars. I think this is a great example of too little too late. If this had happened maybe a month and a half ago, it might have been better for the Stars, but as of right now, that they're just in a world of pain.
It's interesting timing, but don't look now. I think they're only like 3 points out of a playoff spot. In the last week or so, they've definitely had some good luck with the people above them and winning a couple games of their own. It sounds like Sagan's probably not going to be able to come back in time to like help them win, but maybe if they can get themselves in, he'd be back for playoffs. So, I mean,
crazier things have happened. Who knows?
Yeah.
Mac, you're right. They have 48 points. They're fifth in the division. They need to be fourth to make the playoffs. And the Predators are the team ahead of them with 51. And Dallas does have 3 games in hand, and they're on a 3-game winning streak.
The only thing that I don't like about everything you just said is the team that's right above them. I think the Predators look really good. I've been watching them. It's tough to bet against UC Soros right now.
He's got to
they
be
look
like
they
the
want to
hottest
play the
goaltender
playoffs.
in the NHL
The Predators
right now.
really look like
save for maybe 2. I think Soros looks like one of the best goaltenders in the NHL right now.
Sure. Yeah. He's been one of the hottest all year. So they were good to me last night. Predators puck line.
Anyway, keep your eye on Dallas. We'll see what happens.
Happy 110th birthday to Teiji Hanma. He was born in 1911 and he played goalie for Japan's national team in the 1936 Winter Olympics in Germany. And he is still going strong at 110 years old. So just want to wish him a happy 110th birthday. I believe it was like earlier this week, but that is an absolute ridiculous age to live to. So just kudos to him. Dude. And, hope things are going well at 110 years young.
Where do you get some of these? I mean, that's awesome, but where does he get some of these? He's such a pro.
They find me. It's all about the thrill of the hunt. It's like fishing, man. You never know what you're going to reel in.
I mean, that's awesome. I wonder, that's awesome.
From a goalie of the past to a goalie of the present, Vegas Golden Knights forward or goaltender Marc-Andre Fleury passed Hockey Hall of Famer Eddie Belfour for 4th on the NHL's all-time wins list last Wednesday night. So as of right now, the top 4 sit with Marty Brodeur at 691, which is another record I don't think will ever be touched. Patrick Waugh at 551, Bobby Lou at 489, and then Marc-Andre Fleury at 485 when I pulled this stat. So that might have changed a little bit, but just hats off to Flower. Such a likable guy, even though, he's basically tormented Mac and I for the last 15 years. But huge accomplishment. And I feel like a lot of people didn't realize he was this high up on the list. So.
I mean, that's my guy, I that's just a great stat. Love that he's that high on the leaderboard. He will pass Roberto Luongo for 3rd all time. And he should, barring any unforeseen circumstances, he should be the 3rd goalie ever to hit 500 wins, which is going to be pretty awesome. So congrats to him. Couldn't happen to a better guy. That's just fantastic. So.
Yeah, absolutely. The New York Rangers are going to buy out the contract of defenseman Tony DeAngelo after this season, according to Darren Dreger. The Rangers were reportedly willing to terminate the 25-year-old's contract to allow him to sign with another team as a free agent. It's believed that the Canadians were interested, but DeAngelo did not accept, Dreger also reports. So I'm a little bit surprised there just because I don't think another NHL team is going to take a look at him this season. And I'm questioning if one will down the road. So, you would think if the Habs were interested, you might as well just take it to stay in the league. But hey, I don't know, maybe he's going to go somewhere else, or maybe he's got something else lined up. So who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I think he just wants to go be like a construction worker or something because he clearly would rather make money for like 2 more years. What is it, 2 or 3 more years guaranteed, and then go figure something else. I mean, this I think is his last shot to like play for a team. And yeah, he would have had to like start from scratch with a new contract and like kind of prove his worth again. But like he clearly doesn't believe in himself if he doesn't think he can do that. You know what I mean? So it's just like all the more reason to be like, all right, get this guy out of here. Next.
Yeah. Do you think he plays in North America next season?
I don't think he plays in the NHL next season.
Okay.
I do. I don't know why. Don't ask me why. I feel like he's gonna go to the Ducks. I woke up one day and I just had that feeling, but I don't fucking know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, with how close we are to the end of the season, I'm not surprised by this. The Canadian quarantine, 7 days, the logistical part of it. Plus, he hasn't skated in forever. I'm shocked Montreal took a bid on him, to be honest, because I don't think it's worth it at this point in time. But for some reason, I see him in a Ducks uniform when I envision things. But I guess we'll see.
They need another dumpster fire.
Yeah, basically.
You're right though. It could be, someone out there could see a chance where he ends the season and goes into free agency. They go, hey, no one's really going to pick you else up, or no one else is going to pick you up. Let's lowball this guy, get him on a cheap deal, sort of low risk, high reward thing. If he pans out and can be a staple in the lineup, great. If he turns out to, be exactly what we've all read about him, whatever, we cut him loose. So maybe someone takes a chance on him in the off season, maybe like one of the bottom feeders, but yeah, exactly. Who knows? Moving up to the Western Hockey League, 15-year-old Connor Bedard has been absolutely torching this league over the last 3 months. He is the first player to be granted exceptional status for the WHL. Exceptional status in the CHL, basically, for those that don't know, means they let you play when you're 15. The age to get in is 16. But if you're that good, like if you're like Connor McDavid talent, they'll let you in at age 15. So he's the first person in this league's history to be given that. In 15 games, he has 12 goals, 16 assists, and 28 points at the age of 15.
The next part really throws you for a whirl.
Yeah. And if you're ready to feel old, he was born in 2005.
That is just insane.
That's
I can't
nuts.
put that through my head.
But for a 15-year-old to go up against 18, 19, and 20-year-old men, or young men at least, to put up those numbers, I think is just so impressive. So hats off to him. I know he recently had a death in the family, but just want to wish him the best. And
oh God, really?
Yeah, keep on keeping on. Shit. So if you're a high pick in the 2023 draft, look out, because I think that kid's going to be a stud.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that they've been talking about him. He's going to be the next Matthews, McDavid, McKinnon, whatever you want to call him. And seems like they're cranking those kind of caliber players out like crazy right now.
Seriously. Moving on to one of the other leagues in the CHL, the Ontario Hockey League has canceled their 2020-2021 season. They actually announced this afternoon. Earlier this month, the OHL and the government of Ontario reached an agreement on a return to play for the league. However, worsening pandemic situations in the province of Ontario have basically just made this not a possibility. And it sucks. It sucks for these kids that are trying to get drafted. We mentioned this earlier, but they basically just have had to scrap the season. And you just really feel for them, because it's, they could have had a chance to go to college, but with this whole, oh yeah, we're going to play. No, we're not. Yes, we are. No, we're not. Or they could have gone to the USHL or something like that. And you just feel bad for them, because what are they supposed to do in a situation like this?
Yeah. I mean, you can't really do anything. And it's just the way the world has just crazily gone the past year. So yeah, I guess on the next season, can't really hold anything against them if you're a scout. So
yeah. Following the blockbuster trade between the Washington Capitals and Detroit Red Wings, Jacob Vrana and Anthony Mantha both made instant impacts with their new clubs, respectively. Vrana scored in his first game against the Red Wings on a nice little breakaway snipe that just absolutely confused the goaltender. And Mantha has scored in each of his first 4 games with the Caps. So maybe the guys on Empty Betters were right about calming down all the crazed Caps fans who were freaking out and crying and, wondering why their baby boy got traded. But, now that everyone's had a chance to breathe, I think we're going to be okay.
Mac, virtual knuckle bump to you and me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, it just goes to show Mantha, that guy, it's as simple as this, right? Mantha makes the Caps a better team. He just does.
Yep.
It's everything that we fucking said happened. Imagine that, because gambling's one thing, but when you're doing like this kind of analysis, it's a little bit different because there's no money involved, obviously. He looks great, and I don't want to say it makes me happy because obviously I hate the Capitals, but it makes me happy because we were right, and we were really right. So
that Vrana goal was like such a Vrana goal too. Also, he had taken a penalty. He was coming out of the penalty box.
Yeah.
And got hit for a breakaway. So, I mean, it was good to see him score, though. Don't get me wrong. I was excited for him.
I think the thing I love about Mantha's impact on the score sheet is it's been all over the place. It's been a wicked snipe on the rush in his first game. It was a power play goal against the Flyers. It was a dirty, greasy, bang it in front of the net against, I think it was the Bruins, maybe. I don't know. I can't remember.
And not just the goals. He's getting lots of shots on net. You can tell that physical play. Like, he's playing a way more like Capitals hockey game than Vrana was. Like, unfortunately, like, he just buys into our system way more. He just seems like a Capital. Like, he seems like he fits there. And he makes our second power play unit so much more threatening.
Yeah, the Caps' second power play unit, not to discredit anyone that's on it, but it's sort of like, okay, after the first power play unit has had their minute and 15 seconds, you're like, okay.
It needed like an umph though, and he's
needed a big
right
shot
there. I mean, that's that goal he scored in that Bruins game on Sunday on the power play where he just picked a spot from like the top of the circles and just ripped it there through traffic. Like, that's a goal that we were not scoring on that second unit before we got him. So.
Speaking of trade deadline acquisitions, I just want to say this because I saw it and I don't want to forget. Nick Foligno, I think, has done his quarantine now and should be joining the Maple Leafs when you're listening to this today, April 21st on Wednesday. So be on the lookout for that.
Nice. Do you guys think that's going to be like the key for the Leafs? Or do you think that's going to be another one of those things where they bring someone in and it's like, eh?
It could go either way, 50-50. I said it was going to be one of the biggest trades, I think, on our breakdown. But like, now the more I think about it, I'm like a little worried about how it's going to go for some reason.
I will say that if you don't follow if you're a big hockey fan and you like, following all teams, but you still have one team like us, Left Coast Leafs podcast, their Twitter page is fucking hilarious because it's basically a rage account because they just go so mad about everything the Leafs do. I didn't know this. The Leafs power play has been atrocious this year.
Horrible.
So bad, which is crazy to me because you would never guess it. And it was funny because when the Caps played the Flyers and Obi had 2 goals, they tweeted out, they said, Ovechkin looks like he's literally just having a bagged lunch in the left circle. And they just give it to him and he fucking shoots it. And the Leafs just do all this like tic-tac, cross there, cross this, like blah, blah, blah. They're like, just fucking put Matthews on the right side and let him crank it. It's not so. Anyways, I got off track. What I was really getting at is that looking at Leafs Twitter, this is the Leafs' real amount of problems. And this is Leafs Twitter's list of problems.
Yeah.
It's not that bad. Like they're always like, you can't use that you're in first place as an excuse. You're in first place. Like, what do you want? Like, you literally can't get higher than where you need to be right now. You are at the top. You can't, there's nothing that you're chasing. So I think the Leafs will be fine. Canucks tough loss as a wild card. They're coming off. They're fired up. They haven't played. Whatever. They play them again tonight. I'm sure they'll smoke them. So we'll see.
Should be an interesting game tonight because the last time these two played, or since then at least, Canucks defenseman Alex Edler has been suspended 2 games for kneeing Leafs forward Zach Hyman. And then Hyman's going to be out at least short term because of that. So did you guys see them?
That sucks.
Yes.
That's like their honey badger. That's their glue guy. That's the guy who's taken a huge step this year. They cannot win a Stanley Cup without Zach Hyman. I'll say that right now.
I only saw it once briefly in kind of a bad quality video. It looked kind of bad though to me.
Yeah, same here. I thought it was 100%.
I mean, Hyman
suspension worthy.
Hyman looked super injured at least.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that much. So
I think we should segue that into the injuries, and I'll touch on what was said there. So they say it's not a serious injury. Now, you know how that goes. Oh, week to week turns into month turns into 3 months. So God knows, I have a feeling that we'll be monitoring this going up until the end of the year into the playoffs, and then we'll see where we're at. That's kind of the inclination I'm getting. But yeah, suspended 2 games. It was a pretty blatant knee hit in my opinion, and that really sucks for the Leafs because Hyman's been really good for them. So we'll see. And it's a good time for Foligno to plug into the lineup.
Yeah, definitely. Another injury to get to. Sabres captain Jack Eichel is going to miss the remainder of this season with a herniated disc in his neck. So I don't want to speculate. I would just assume he took a sledgehammer to his own neck to just put himself out of the pain of having to finish the season with this club. But in all seriousness, he's expected to have surgery and should be ready for training camp. So
in case you're wondering, the Sabres are officially mathematically eliminated from the playoffs.
Yep.
Which, by the way, now they're even more dangerous because they got nothing to lose and they're out there. And you know what? They've actually looked kind of decent recently with
of course,
Bjork. He looks kind of good. Like they're just ready to play spoiler now for everybody.
We'll get into more of that a little bit later on, but yeah.
Of course, out of the trade deadline, they just come out guns a-blazing. Both Alexander Radulov and, as we mentioned earlier, Ben Bishop, who is originally intended to return, will not return to the Stars lineup this season. So they have both already been ruled out for the year. It's over. It's done. It's not happening. 2 big pieces for the Stars. So again, not a great look for them. Is that a question of too little, too late? I think so, but we'll see. Who knows?
I also think Radulov is a much bigger piece than a lot of people might realize he is. And without him, that's going to be just that much harder to catch the Preds.
Especially in the playoffs. He's always been a gamer in the playoffs. Even going back to when he was with Montreal, he was always he just had that extra step.
Always scores a big goal for sure.
Yeah. Philip Grubauer is out at least 2 weeks for the Avs in COVID-19 protocol. So I think they're pretty happy that they brought in Devan Dubnyk now at the deadline. So I don't know what sort of crystal ball that Joe Sakic's looking into, but I would love to get a peek at it because he, basically just shirt up his goaltender and then his starter goes out and, is on COVID protocol. So not great for the Avs, not the end of the world, but it is what it is. Zach Werenski is out for the season with a sports hernia for the Blue Jackets as things just continue to go from bad to worse. That sucks. You never want to see that happen to a guy. Steven Stamkos is out until at least May for the Lightning with a lower body injury. The forward is tied for the Tampa Bay Lightning lead with 17 goals this season. I don't think a lot of people knew that. He's sort of been flying under the radar, not that Stammer ever does, but I feel like ever since, his, missing so much time last year, he hasn't gotten a ton of attention this season, but definitely not great for them. They obviously have Kucherov coming back soon. We've obviously seen the footage of him skating and him practicing, but
how much you want to bet he comes back before the playoffs? I'll bet my last dollar on it.
Oh, a lot.
Because they originally said that he was not going to be back at all for the regular season, but I would swear on my life that he'll be back before that.
Yeah, I think so. And, a guy like him who's as big of a gamer as he is, I don't think he's going to, he'll come back when he's like 60% ready to. So,
yep, I feel that.
Gruesome injury the other night. Sabres forward Kyle Oposo will miss the remainder of the season after having surgery to repair a broken bone in his left cheek after getting hit by a shot. That was ugly. Never want to see that. So obviously want to wish him the best. But that was just messy, nasty. It was like off of like a dump in. He was at the blue line, just got caught high in the face.
Didn't catch it. Gonna be honest.
Yeah. It's just,
it was rough.
High under the visor, one of those type deal. Vancouver Canucks forward Elias Pettersson is likely out for the season. Congrats to anyone that drafted him in their fantasy roster and held on to him for the last 4.5 months. So that would be
shut
me.
up. You're going to win the whole league anyway.
I am not going to win the whole league.
Max trying to jinx you.
He is trying to jinx me. So we're in the playoffs now and things are heating up. We'll get to that at the end of the episode, but and then the last injury we have to get to is Canadians goaltender Carey Price is going to miss the next 4 games in concussion protocol following a collision with Alex Chason. That comes from Canadians head coach Dominic Ducharme today, April 20th. Nice. So not great if you're a Habs fan and you never stop. You're going to make me laugh.
Nice.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah.
You snuck that in there very well.
I did. I had to. It's a holiday, right, guys?
What do you guys think? What do you guys think I'm doing in Denver?
Yeah.
Oh my God. You're in Denver on 420? Holy shit.
So yeah, not something that Habs fans want to see, but 4 games isn't the end of the world. I think in this grand scheme of things, you just have to look at it like that. And hopefully he can come back soon. And hopefully if you're a Habs fan, it's not more than 4 games because it very likely could be.
And they didn't look too all right without him when it was just Jake Allen like shouldering the weight of it while Price was, I don't know if he was injured or COVID or what, but he was out for a week or so. And they had Allen and some fucking guy.
Caden Primo, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's him. It didn't look too good.
Yeah, they better hope Vancouver doesn't catch fire because that would not be good.
Yeah. Personal to the podcast as well. So
what?
Like that's relevant to our bet, right? We have those 2 teams going. Yeah.
Did we make a bet about that?
I mean, it's at least just bragging rights.
Yeah, exactly.
It's bragging rights, but my team got fucking COVID outbreak.
Okay, whatever.
Yeah, your team also got the end of season deadline extended about 2 weeks for them. So
there you go.
Couple signings to get to. Connor Sherry re-ups with the Caps, 2 years, $3 million. I love the shit out of this deal.
Cheap deal.
Yep.
Stupid. What a team player he is for taking that. He did not need. He could have gotten more for sure, but he was like, you know what? I like this team. Realistically, I want to keep playing here, and realistically, I want OV to keep playing here with me. So I'm gonna let him have his big cash. And
you know what? I think that's the thing that really made this deal happen. Is he clearly loves playing here so much more than anywhere else he's played in the past.
Yeah.
And that's the key, and that's why he signed here. So
I think he particularly really likes like the leadership here more than maybe somewhere
probably
else.
Just the winning, like the winning mentality, and how much fun
and just
this
like
team
red
has.
and not like yellow and like
big ketchup over mustard guy.
For sure. Yeah.
Literally just wait till next season when you're like, because all the Caps fans are like, I love Carl Hagelin, but he can't finish for shit. I'm like, well, no, duh. And then when you first get him, everyone's like, oh my God, Carl Hagelin. I'm like, I've seen this episode. Just wait. That's exactly by next year. You'll be like, get him off the team. Justin Schultz, Daniel Sprong, same shit. It's all the same.
I could keep going. Yeah.
Adam Lowry re-ups with Winnipeg, 5 years, 3.25 AAV. That's
that.
Yeah, that's another great deal, especially for the Jets, because I feel like they've got some work to do this offseason in bringing people in. So
great deal, good value, playoff guy, big body, son of a bitch to play against. I love that.
Seriously. That wraps it up for news and signings. Do you guys have anything else before we move on to gambling?
No, but I do want to say that our sponsor for the gambling section that you're about to read is about to be my line mate on the Empty Betters roller hockey team that starts tomorrow. So next episode, I'll be having a segment about that. I am hoping for some awesome type men's league stories. We will see. I haven't played organized roller hockey since I was like 10, and I did that for like one spring. It's kind of weird, but kind of cool. I honestly like it better than ice. So that's it.
Yeah. Definition of a two-way player right there, the guy that sponsors the pod and sets you up for goals. So just want to remind everyone that these picks are brought to you by the Maryland Mortgage Wiz. Are you planning on buying your first home this year? Get pre-approved and explore all financing options with Dave Fritz, the Mortgage Wiz. Interest rates are at a historic low, and down payment assistance programs are available. Stop renting and put your money in a place that you can call home. Follow Dave on Instagram at Maryland_mortgage_whiz for more information. Dave is licensed in Maryland, Delaware, and Florida. Equal housing lender, NMLS number 3094. All right, Harry, what have you liked to bet on this past week? Looking forward to this week. What do you got?
All righty. Well, as Mac alluded to earlier, the Sabres, they went 1-6, I believe, after the hiring of their new coach. And that was a burp, not a fart. Now they're 5-3-2 in their last 10, and they've just defeated some pretty prominent names in that span, the Caps and Pens being some of them. They've hit some alternate puck lines at plus 600, plus 700, some really good values. And then the Red Wings, they are 4-4-2 in their last 10. They played the Dallas Stars really hard last night. They play them again tonight. I actually kind of like the Wings on that. April 20th that'll be past tense when you're listening to this, but keep an eye out on those two. I mean, they're playing spoilers real well. They seem to just be playing with the house's money. Nobody gives a shit, really. There's no pressure. You got some young guys, some unproven guys getting some ice time, so they're playing really hard. So I would definitely respect the money line values for these teams and probably start dabbling in that a little bit. The Avalanche are the last remaining team in the NHL to still have single-digit losses in regulation, which is just fucking nuts because we are basically going to be done the season here in the next 3-ish weeks.
A lot of teams only have 10 games left.
Yeah. So, I mean, knowing that it's, Colorado puck money line is always steep right now. But what you can do, if you don't know this already, you can bet teams to win in regulation, which will give you a better value. So I'd say at any given time, the Avalanche are probably expected to be minus 240 favorites, depending, but that's against an average team, they're going to be minus 240. You bet them in regulation, you might be able to get it at minus 190, minus 180. That might be a better option for you, given this stat. And what else we got? The Rangers. The Rangers have won 3 straight versus the Devils, and they outscored them 18-6 in that span. And New York has now won 4 in a row. So the Rangers are here, and they are coming hard.
Yeah, the Bruins need to definitely keep one eye looking back over their shoulder because they're coming fast.
Well, and that's kind of like one of the things I wanted to talk about. I guess we could do it in the market report, or we could do it now. If you want to talk a little standings, should we say?
I have the Bruins in my market report. Spoiler alert! So we can go back and forth a little on that.
All right, I'll save it for then. Hawks and Preds have a 3-game series this week. Keep an eye on that. Preds took the first game last night, April 19th. So you got to think the Hawks are going to take one of them. So maybe bet them the second game, and if they lose, then hammer them a little harder the third game, because I can't imagine the Preds taking all 3.
I believe that the Predators have yet to lose to the Hawks all season.
Right, which can sway one of 2 ways. The Hawks are just fed up and they're not going to get swept, or the Preds are a lock. I'm going to lean more towards the Hawks aren't going to get swept. So
they got pride. I would think they find a way to win one of them.
Yeah.
That to me comes down to who's starting in goal for the Hawks.
I was going to say, no offense, but they could probably win a game against Pekka.
Yeah.
Yes. And who's in net for the Preds? Keep an eye on the Canucks. I'm just going to keep that kind of vague. I mean, they've got some pretty good money line values, and now that Pettersson's out the rest of the season, that's going to factor too. So keep an eye on that. Fun fact, the Senators went 6-2 against the Flames this year. That's insane. I think that's the only team that they had a winning record against. You can't bet that now because I think the season series is over. But
the Flames are horrible. That's such a bad hockey team.
Stink.
Yeah, they just suck to watch. Like, no offense to Calgary fans out there, but they suck. They're a frustrating team to watch, and I'm not.
And they shouldn't be with the talent that they have.
They're frustrating. Yeah.
Yes. These last 2, I think, are very important. So Connor McDavid right now is averaging 2.02 points per game at home this season, which is fucking nuts. There are only 2 players in NHL history who have higher points per games in a single season at home. They would be by the names of Mario Lemieux and Jaromir Jagr. Not bad company to be in. He's on fucking fire. If he's at home, I mean, his 2 points is probably at like plus 120, something like that.
His 1 point is probably at like minus 280, but if you're really
Oh,
ballsy,
yeah.
you could take that and hope it's not the night he takes off.
His like 1 point is just, it's not worth your time. But I've even seen like, even if his like 2 points gets down to even, it might be worth your time to take it.
Yeah, so keep an eye when the Oilers are at home. The McDavid props are looking pretty good this season. And Mike Matheson, can't believe I'm saying this because at the start of the year I would have totally not, but has just found a different gear with the Pittsburgh Penguins this season. He has, before we started recording, 9 points in his last 10 games. He scored the first goal while we were recording tonight against the Devils. So he now has 10 points in his last 11 games. I took him on a prop bet right before we started recording for him to get a point at plus 155. That hit. So I would just keep riding that train. He's looking really good. He's getting a lot of ice time and he looks confident. So Mike Matheson props. Can't believe I'm saying that.
Yeah, no, those are all great points. And Matheson's been on a tear. Another guy that I like that's been on a tear that I've been doing a lot of player props on is Jason Robertson. This guy was my first liner last week, and I picked him up on my fantasy team. He leads all rookies in points since March 1st. I know that, we've been talking about Kirill Kaprizov as, clear cut Calder favor. It's over. It's done. Book it. The guy's had an amazing season. Robertson's had 27 points since March 1st. And that's
Holy shit.
It's nuts because you consider how up and down the Stars have been. And this guy has been one of the biggest contributors for that team. So, go out and look at like some of the odds for him to have like a point in a game it's always been plus from what I've seen. That might change now just because of the track record, but I was getting this guy at like a plus 120 to get a point, stuff like that, which is just ridiculous. You want to like move over to like him getting a goal, you're easily in the plus 200 territory. And I think that's well worth your money.
Solid find.
Yeah.
Mac, you got anything you like?
I was gonna say I don't know if I'm legally allowed to give advice after the week I had last week, but no, honestly, don't listen to me. Listen to everything Harrison said. That was a very in-depth gambling trends thing. We might have to just hand this segment of the show over to Harrison at some point because he seems to always do. I don't know how you dig up some of these stats that are like real specific. That one about McDavid and Mario and stuff was a good one.
I don't want to give away my source because I'm scared people won't listen. So you know what? Fuck you guys.
No,
I'm going to
tell me later. Tell me off.
Puck Empire.
No, it's different. It's actually a very basic one. It's a Twitter account, but I'm not going to reveal it because you should be following us, not them. So
there you go.
Yes.
All right, Harry, who do you have for first and fourth liner this week?
First liner, pains me to say it, but Anthony Mantha, and I'm going to do it because I like that. We stuck our neck out and it seems to be working well right off the bat. So they already sucked him off a little too much earlier. So I'm not really going to go into stats. My fourth liner, I feel bad because his team stinks, but he's been playing relatively well this season, but not so much the past 5 to 6 starts. Mackenzie Blackwood, the goaltender for the New Jersey Devils, he's basically gotten shit spanked by the Pens and the Bruins in the last 5 games. So I feel a little bad for him. But yeah, he's going to be my fourth liner for this.
Devils are more of a mess than anybody else in the league right now. Like
100%.
They're down
easily.
5-0 in the first period to Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, right now they are?
Yeah.
Right.
It's bad.
Happens.
My first liner is going to be Jeremy Swayman, the goaltender for the Boston Bruins. Essentially, like on the depth chart, this guy would probably be the Bruins' 4th goaltender, you would think. I think it would go Rask, Halak, Darth, and then this guy. So he got his first career shutout against the Islanders this past Friday and got me 12 whole fantasy points, which was huge because I picked him up that day just because he was playing. So kudos to him. My fourth liner is going to be Max Domi. I'm pretty sure we've all put this guy as our fourth liner at least once this season. And a lot of this is down to the fact that the Jackets have just been one of the worst teams in the league all year. But he's been scratched for these past 2 consecutive games, which means things aren't going well between him and Torts. And he's only got 7 goals, 12 assists for 19 points in 46 games. And that's well on pace for a career worst season in the NHL. And for a guy that's moved around a lot and just sort of hasn't really found that home yet, I think his lowest like point total in an NHL season is like 38. And I don't think he's going to get anywhere close to that. So I feel bad for the guy. I feel bad ragging on him, but it's not working out in Columbus for Max. So I don't anticipate him being there for quite much longer.
And then for my first liner, I've got the Cat with Chicago, Alex DeBrincat. 3 goals, 3 assists in his last 6 games. And I would have put like more. I think it's actually like 4 goals and 4 assists in his last whatever. I can't count that high, so I just kept it simple. And then we have Stastny as my fourth liner. Winnipeg is just like, I don't know. Here's the thing. Winnipeg seems like a playoff team to me this season, but I need a guy like Stastny to get going more than he has. I know he's like getting a little up there in age, but 3 points in his last 10 games. So he's got 1 goal and 2 assists in his last 10 games. I don't know. For me, for Winnipeg, I think they've got a lot of moving pieces, but especially after losing Laine this year, like guy like Stastny should be a much bigger part of their points production on a given night.
Yeah, I'd agree. I just want to say for the record, the Devils money line right now, live bet, is plus 10,000.
If they came back against Pittsburgh down 5-0.
Yeah, they're down 5-0.
So it's plus 10,000. So it'd be what? That's somebody do math. If you
Nick,
put $10 on it, then you're winning 1,000. Is that?
I think, Nick, I was just telling Mac, Devils live bet right now down 5-0 to Pittsburgh is plus 10,000.
I mean, it couldn't hurt. Who's in goal? Who's in goal for the Penguins?
I mean, you said you're already up $80 or whatever. Why don't you? You should at least
put 5 on it.
Bet against your own team though. I don't know.
No, I'd rather not win 10 grand than have the Penguins lose this game. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, that's fair.
Really?
Fair enough.
No, not really. But
Well, I think it's $1,000 though.
Yeah,
if it's plus 10,000, it's $1,000, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be nice, but you know what? I'd rather the Pens win. I just don't want to deal with that.
You could win $10,000 if you put 100 on it.
Dude, stop! I actually stop.
You're almost
You're the
up
one who said
100 anyways,
10,000,
man.
so.
I mean, you're right there.
Exactly. Then you'd only be down $20, dude.
Right?
Yeah. All right. That's enough. My mind is wheeling.
Don't
right
let
now.
your friends give you betting advice. They might try to screw with you. Just a blanket rule.
Yeah.
Market report.
Yep.
Should we get to it? All right, let's talk. Mac, I want you to start because
okay, yeah, because we're
yes.
gonna talk about this for a few minutes. So my trending up team, I actually picked the Bruins. I didn't pull any specific stats. I just picked them because after watching the last couple games they've played, including a few against the Caps, they look like they've cleaned things up. In general, they're one of my least favorite opponents to play. I mean, granted, they have had the Caps number more so than a lot of other teams too. So that's a little bit more specific to me and other Caps fans. But I was looking at the standings. I know we talked about earlier that the Rangers are surging. They're coming up. I think it might be a little too late for the Rangers because of the way Boston is playing. They've got Tuukka back. Tuukka looks like primetime Tuukka in the last 5 games to me since he's returned. He's looked like he hasn't missed a beat. Maybe he got the rest he needed or something, but he looks damn good.
Yeah. So I was able to watch a couple glimpses of those games that you guys had against them. Marchand looks great per usual. I mean, him and Bergeron,
he's
we
so frustrating.
Infuriating.
That whole line is just what the hell? And now they have Taylor Hall on their second line, and they've got it's just a deep team.
That was my second point, was that Taylor Hall has looked way better in a Bruins uniform than he did in a Sabres uniform, which I think we all expected, but he's really looked very good. So that's not good. I'm looking at the standings right now.
They've got games in hand too, don't they?
The Bruins have games in hand on everybody in our division. So The Bruins have only played 43. The Rangers have played 45. The Bruins have 56 points and the Rangers have 52. Both teams have won 4 in a row, and both teams have 7 wins in their last 10 games. So hear me out.
That's interesting.
This is going to sound nuts, but here's a bold, I don't want to say prediction because I don't think it'll happen, but this is the only way I can see the Rangers getting in. The Islanders have to fucking collapse because, hear me out, the Caps aren't going to. I know they're not. I would like to think, and this is just paranoia creeping in, I don't think the Penguins are going to, especially given how easy our schedule is, and hopefully Buffalo
The
doesn't.
second half of the season, the Penguins won't collapse.
Yeah, I don't think they will, and we play Buffalo and Jersey too many times. So I just would like to think we'll be fine. The Islanders are right now in second place in the division with 45 games played with 60 points. They're 6-4 in their last 10. They are the only hope that I can see for the Rangers to make it, because I think the Bruins are about to go into beast mode. I don't think the Penguins are slowing down, and I don't think the Caps are slowing down. The Islanders are the only team right now that I can say show a little bit of weakness, perhaps. So if the Rangers make the playoffs, it has to happen with the Islanders missing it. That's my bold
Fair
take.
enough. That's interesting. Yeah.
The Bruins remaining schedule, ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
Sabres, 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 Penguins, Penguins, Sabres.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing though, I really think it's the Devils that's the slam dunk opponent at this point. I don't think those Sabres games are like a gimme anymore.
No.
You should win them still, but I don't think they're like, I mean, for a little while, we all know, like during that losing streak, it was like, sweet, slam dunk every time, win. Like you just knew you were going to win that game that night. I don't think that the Sabres are nearly as like they play them 3 times in a row right now, like you said. I think the Sabres will definitely win one of those games, maybe 2 if they're lucky. Maybe.
Well, and the Sabres are still last in the division, but with the way things are going, I don't think that'll be the case. The Sabres are 5-3-2 in their last 10. The Devils are 1-8-1, and they've lost 6 in a row, and they're about to lose 7 in a row.
And hear me out. I don't know. I mean, I think it takes a lot of pressure off of you to be disqualified from the playoffs. You're like, well, there's nothing to worry about anymore. And B, I think it takes a ton of pressure off that team to lose Taylor Hall, a guy who's supposed to be really good, but is struggling. Like sometimes that just kind of affects the whole room in a weird way. And so losing him might've been just like kind of a weight off their shoulders. And now all these, lesser guys feel like they can just step up and play their game and not worry about like what he's doing or why he's not scoring anymore. So yeah, I think they've got a chip on their shoulder. It is a reset button.
That's one of the things that we talked about coming out of the deadline is you just never know what's going to happen. And this team has caught fire coming out of the deadline. So
right.
And here's something interesting. The Rangers' next couple of games, and this is the next 6 games for the Rangers will determine if they will make the playoffs or not, in my opinion. Flyers, Buffalo, Islanders.
Ooh.
Those Islanders games are going to be must-watch television.
Yeah. Especially if they manage to win those Flyers and Sabres games.
Could you imagine? Do you guys remember what was it like 2012 when the Rangers and Flyers had to go to a shootout to determine who got that last playoff spot?
If it
Could
was
you
Islanders
imagine
and
if the
doing
Rangers and Islanders had to go to a shootout to determine if the Rangers made the playoffs?
Oh man.
Now, disclaimer, that's not their final. That's not their last game. They still have 4 games after that.
Right.
But the next 6, I truly believe the Rangers have to. I mean, if you believe what I believe, the Rangers have to go at least 5-1 in that 6-game span.
Yeah, probably.
Because
to really put the pressure on. Yeah.
Yes, and the Islanders are going to have to just fall apart, which I don't know will happen, but they're the one team I think who could.
It'll be interesting to keep our eyes on that East Division. Moving on, I didn't have any down teams because you guys kind of took them both that were the main ones. I don't know. All the shitty teams like are just shitty.
Shit.
Like we all know it. Like we've talked about them. I didn't feel like belaboring a point we've already been to. So I'll just let you guys talk about the 2 main shitty teams, which we've already kind of touched on, but go ahead.
Yeah, we already talked about the Devils. They were my 4th line team, 1-8-1 in their last 10. Harry, you already touched on that. They lost their last 6 in a row. It's about to be 7. So bad. Just, they're falling apart. Don't really know what's going on there, but it's certainly not anything to write home about. My up team is going to be the Minnesota Wild. I could have chosen the Avs for this one, but I wanted to focus more on the Wild. They've won their last 4 in a row, and they're 7-2-1 in their last 10. And they're, in my opinion, right now, they're putting together decent hockey where they could win some playoff games. I don't, depending on who they draw in the first round. And right now that's probably going to be Vegas, which is definitely not a matchup that they want. But I really think that, that's not going to be as much as a walk in the park as people think it might be.
And those two teams have had some really exciting games against each other this season. Not all of them, but at least a couple of them have been real close and exciting games. I know Minnesota has won a couple of like really frustrating where basically Vegas looked really frustrated. And so you're right, it's not going to be a walk in the park, even if they do get VGK.
Well, VGK is my up team for the week. They've won 6 in a row. I would classify them probably as one of the hottest teams in the league, if not the hottest.
I would say the hottest.
They look great. The goaltending's been good. Pacioretty's been playing really well. They cucked Marleau out of his win in his all-time record-setting game, of course, in typical Sharks fashion. So, yeah, I'm going to have to go with the Golden Knights. I feel like we'd say this like every episode, but them in Colorado, man, that is going to be one hell of a matchup if that happens. That's the two juggernauts in my opinion.
It has to. Like, we have to be able to see that now.
Yeah, that would be a great matchup. My down team, the Columbus Blue Jackets. Fun fact, they are now below Detroit in the central standings. So we've been ragdolling Detroit all season long. The Detroit Red Wings haven't been favored in one game so far this year. And now we got Columbus below them with Max Domi scratched and Patrick Laine playing his Xbox. So I don't really know what we're going to do. It's just chaos in Columbus right now. And I would imagine Torts is gone after this season.
I was going to say, you have to think they're going to can him. I mean, even
He should be.
He should be. And, you can say it's not directly his fault, but they have to do something. Him being there is clearly not working. It was
It's
for a little bit.
not the right
but
fit.
Yeah, it was for a little bit. It sort of reminds me of like the Caps with Bruce Boudreau. Like, it got them here, but it's not going to take them any further than that. And they need someone else to take them to that next, that next level. So
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
That does it for our market report segment. Nick, I know you wanted to talk a little bit about the standings updates. If the playoffs started today.
Yeah. Some good stuff going on.
It's always a fun conversation.
I forget who released this article. I want to say it was like Bar Down or TSN, and I could be completely wrong, so don't quote me on that. But they released an article 2 days ago on what the best playoff matchups would be, ranking them like 1 through 8 if the playoffs started today. So we're going to go from number 8 to number 1. So Colorado would play Arizona. I think we all know who's going to win that one. That's not really a secret. I think Arizona could potentially steal a game, but honestly, I would probably say that's probably the series I'm like, okay, 4-0 sweep done.
These are all 7 games too, right? This year, like there's none of that 5-game garbage anymore.
Regular old 7 games.
Sweet. Just making sure. Continue.
Up next would be Vegas and Minnesota. We touched on that a little bit earlier. I think Minnesota could get 2 out of that, just if like Talbot is able to stand on his head.
I agree.
That's an upset watch. That could be one.
Yeah. That's another one where I'm like, oh, here we go again. I'm big on the Wild. So, it's going to be last year all over again. Carolina and Nashville. I feel like that could be an interesting one. And that's one where a lot of people are just going to be like, what in the world is the series going to look like? And you're just not going to know. Like Saros could easily steal that series for the Preds.
That one's such a coin flip. If that was, I don't know what to tell you in that one.
Yeah.
It's like Carolina's the better team, but Nashville is the hotter team.
Yes.
At this moment in time.
Yeah.
And it's 2 like southern cities that are trying to like, they both kind of are trying to be the same thing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. 2 great defensive cores. It would be great to see them match up against each other. Up next, we would have the Islanders and the Penguins, which great playoff history there. Gotta love that. That's going to be a nitty gritty, knock down, drag them out slugfest. So, Harry, what are your thoughts on that going in to play the Islanders? Because I can tell you how that story ends. I lived through it last year, and it's not pretty.
Yeah, I mean, they swept us 2 years ago, so that kind of sucks. I don't know. They're the one team I wouldn't want to play. We match up with the Rangers pretty well. When I say we match up with the Caps well, this season we've played the Caps well. It's always a coin flip, but we have played you guys relatively well compared to other teams so far this year.
Well, and every other playoff series going back to 2007. Yes. So,
I mean, I guess I'd rather play the Islanders than the Bruins because we've won 1 game at TD Garden in the last like 10 years.
Dude, the thing
Interesting.
is, as we're talking about all these East teams, there's just no good scenario. Like you're
Well,
gonna
yeah,
have to play a
God.
really good team. Like you're kind of just screwed either way. So
Pens in 4. Fuck you, Dean.
Up next we have Winnipeg and Edmonton. That's another one where it's just like go ahead and flip a coin because who the hell knows what's going to happen. You know, my money would, I feel like I would have to go with the Jets just because you have Hellebuck.
Same. Goaltending. Yep.
Hellebuck over who would it be?
Hellebuck,
Mike
they win
Smith
it in
and
like
Koskinen.
They win it in like 6 or 7. Hellebuck has like 2 shutouts or some crazy shit like that.
Mike Smith's been playing really well this season. I wouldn't
He
write him
has,
off.
but like, you know, talk about like anyone you like, if you could like pick a one goaltender to have in like a playoff series, I feel like Hellebuck's got to be on your short list.
I ain't betting against. I am not betting against McDavid. There's just no way. I can't. I mean, dude, I would love to see the over under of his points in the series for that. It's put it at like, I guess, let's say 17 and a half. I don't know. It's not two. That's like
every
2 point
game,
something points.
Like every game, just parlay McDavid 2 points and Scheifele 2 points, and you're gold. Like you're gonna pay your rent for the next like 6 months.
I would go Oilers if you put a gun to my head. So.
Yeah. Okay. The next series, one I've been begging for, and I've been saying this since the beginning of the year. I want the Sunshine State rivalry, Florida versus Tampa Bay. This needs to be a thing if hockey is going to continue to expand in that market. I think this is great. I think this could be the next
so fun.
Like big rivalry for the NHL. And now that Florida has really like beefed up their lineup, I think this could be I think this could be a real series. Like I could see that one going 7.
And I mean, Tampa Bay always had like a pretty strong following, I think. But when you win a cup, it just awakens everybody in the city to the fact that you exist. Like if you didn't already care about it, you know? And so having that just happen, suddenly all those like fair weathered new Tampa Bay like fans would show up to these games and be like, there's another Florida team.
Yeah. All the snowbirds.
We hate them.
Like,
and it just started like immediate like rivalry. So that'd be sweet.
Like if you're the Panthers, the best thing for your program could be knocking off the defending Stanley Cup champions in the first round.
Yeah. What an opportunity. Right.
Right.
I would, enough of all this. Like, oh, I love who you got.
Oh, the Bolts, 100%.
Tampa. Yeah. It's gotta be
Cats.
Tampa.
Yeah.
Cats.
Really? I love that energy. I would root hard for the Cats.
Like great.
I've watched a lot of Cats games.
You want to talk about great first round, like value pick upset? It would like 100% the Cats would probably be the Cats in Minnesota would probably be your 2 best, like actually in terms of value and then
could
actually
happen
chance
and
of
is
happening.
good value.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, totally.
The
I like
second,
the Cats, man.
Yeah, that could happen. Bob stands on his head. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
The second best series, and I'm going to have to agree with this despite all the North Division hype we get, is Toronto-Montreal. Just because of
if you don't pick the Leafs, you are not you suck.
I'm not gonna go ahead and be like, oh, Montreal could steal this one.
They could
if this was a 5-game series like what they did with the Penguins last year. I don't anticipate being them I just don't see them being able to
probably true, but if Carey Price is like fully healthy, don't count him out.
Like I'm not saying this couldn't go, I'm not saying this couldn't go
Carey
6 or
Price
7.
Doesn't matter if he's had an on and off year. Playoff Carey Price, he might just say F you.
That's true. And honestly, I love the way that the Habs back end has been playing. I love Petrie. I love Weber.
Like
I love
Eric
Romanov.
Stahl.
Yeah,
that's like a team that could definitely win a playoff series.
And the Worm. So it could happen. I could see it going 6 or 7. If the Leafs blow this one,
that's the problem. Is their asses are going to be puckered because I mean all the pressure's on them. That's their biggest rival.
Exactly.
That being said, Toronto will smoke them. I have no doubt.
It's the 2 biggest hockey markets in the world going head to head.
Yeah, Toronto ain't losing that. I'm sorry.
Right.
I can't.
It's Canada's teams going at it. It's the entire country being divided down the middle on who they're rooting for. And the Twitter, the fans outside the stadium, we need that after last season. Like we need that.
Y'all know who I'd be rooting for.
You know who I'll be rooting for.
Yeah, I think all of the listeners at this point, if you've listened to even like 2 or 3 episodes, you should know which side we all stand on, I think.
And
now
this one is going to just basically be a boxing match with a hockey game slightly adjacent to it, is the Caps and the Bruins, because if you haven't paid attention to any of these games this year, it's just been a bloodbath. There's been nasty hits. There's been wicked fights, to use a Boston area term. These teams have basically beaten up on each other all year. There's been blowouts both ways. There's so much talent on either end of these lineups. Who would you guys have in a 7-game series here?
I gotta say, at a certain point in the season, I would have been able to take the Caps. After that last game, I don't think that last game gave me no hope if we have Boston in a playoff series. And the main reason was goaltending, and that's on both teams. Rask made it almost impossible for us to score goals. All 3 of the goals we got, we had to really like either take a perfect shot or work hard for that goal. We had 4 breakaways in that game, didn't score on any of them. And also we couldn't get a save. Like our goaltending has looked a little suspect over the last 2 weeks, in my opinion. I don't think we have a clear-cut guy. I think that's a big question mark. And I think in a series against a team like Boston, that can put you behind real fast if you lose the first 2 or something like that, and then you're just fighting for your life. I think that's exactly what happened too. And then we'd manage to maybe get it to 6 or 7 and still lose.
Harry?
That's a tough one. That's a real tough one. I just have thought from the start, the Caps, they're a good team. I guess because I'm not a fan, and it's just like how I think of the Penguins and you guys think of the Penguins. You get paranoid as a fan. You think your team is probably worse than they really are. I would have to say the Caps in 7, but holy shit, that would be the most physical bloodbath, Jack Edwards rage-inducing, Joe Beninati bone-crushing, awesome announcing.
That's
series
the fight I want to
time.
see, is Jack Edwards, Joe Beninati in the press box.
Oh my God.
Screw Jake Paul.
I'll tell you who would win an IQ test.
Joe Beninati, lacrosse legend, would absolutely dummy that
Edwards.
4-eyed squid, Jack Edwards.
You're right.
Nick, this is the 3rd episode in a row I'm going to ask you this. What's the color guy's name?
Andy Brickley.
We got him versus Craig too,
versus Craig Laughlin, who played in the
tell you
NHL.
who's going to win that one too. Yeah.
As the opening card.
Right.
Right.
Oh man, that's funny.
This one, Mac, you're right. It really comes down to goaltending. Rask, if he's on his game, is one of the best in the league, and that Bruins team has looked lethal lately. And I've said this, early on in the season, the Caps matched up against the Bruins really, really well. And typically the Caps in the past have matched up against this Bruins team very well, especially going into TD Garden. They've been able to sort of have their way with this club. Not now. That Bruins team is white hot. Rask is red hot, and the Caps goaltending, you're right. You said it looked a little bit suspect. And honestly, I have to agree with you.
The Bruins specifically have just had no issue against Sammy or Vanny. They've totally got both of them figured out, it seems, over the last couple games we've played. It doesn't matter who's in net, they're going to score 5 or 6 goals.
Yeah.
And the only other thing I'll say, this is speculation, is if the scenario that we said earlier where the Islanders collapse, the Rangers sneak in, Penguins would get Boston, which I just hate that. And you guys would get the Rangers, which I would also imagine
might be worse. Might be worse in a totally different way because we lose all those games 1-0 or something.
In a matchup standpoint, it's just a disaster for the Caps. It just hasn't worked all year.
Yeah, that one's really, really tough. Yeah.
All righty. Well, that's enough of the speculation.
Yeah.
Any final notes?
Our fantasy playoffs they're getting intense.
I'm in the losers bracket, so I'm just here for the fun of it. At this point, I actually would like you to win because my sister's also totally toast at this point.
So will we know who the winner is before next episode drops?
We already know who one of the finalists is. I'm sorry. Curtin's going to roll.
He's having an insane week, and my sister has had a really cold week just at the wrong time. So it's kind of a bummer. She had a good season, but yeah, Curtin's going to definitely win that one.
What does he win if he wins it all?
It's like $230 or something like that.
Oh
Yeah.
shit, good for you, man. Damn.
Yeah. So it's going to be Curtin against either friend of the pod, Sean Wertheim, or our very own Nick Manella.
Oh shit.
So
Nick.
I hope that's
All
me.
Nick
right.
versus Curtin would be a really sweet final, honestly.
And he like drilled me good in like the second to last
Yeah.
game of the season. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, it's
Well,
two good teams.
I'll be looking
I'm
forward to
riding
it.
Jason Roberts into the final. That's all I'm gonna say.
I'm
There you
only
go.
rooting for you because I'm hoping you put the money back into the pod. But, but
It's
after
going
I heard
straight-
about the car troubles, I don't know.
Yeah.
yeah.
Slim chance that's going to the pod.
Let's be
man.
Yeah.
real.
No, go fix your car. If
That's
you win,
going to
go fix your
tolls,
car.
what it costs to gas that car up, and then the amount of metal that I'm gonna have to add to it
For
to make
sure.
it stable
No,
again. So
I'm only kidding. That's exactly what you should put it towards.
Alrighty. Well, we appreciate you all for listening. Thank you as always for the support. Go check out the new merch on our new merch shop that we have. You can find the link either in any bio on our social media pages or at emptybetters.com. Check out the website. Be on the lookout for our Insta stories and tweets. We've been tweeting a lot of pics there, so that's the best way to, follow our gambling activity. And last one last time, Nick, are you good?
good.
Alrighty. And without further ado,
Class dismissed.